right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Jackrabbit Illustrated Special Edition podcast. Obviously, there's been a little bit of goings on recently in the FCS, and we've been chatting about it so much in the group chat. We decided it's a good time to have a little bit of a show on it, talk about it a little bit with our panel of immaculate judges, Alex Kenkel, Chad Myros, and soon to be joined by Dallas Clarksheen. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend himself. As always, we are brought to you by our title sponsors, the Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. With 9 locations across the great state of South Dakota, there's always a dealer near you to get yourself into some orange equipment. Today, they also have parts sale and service on top of their sales. So if you get yourself into some orange equipment, you'll always be near a place to get that beauty serviced, even though we haven't gotten a lot of snow to deal with recently here, and the beautiful weather's taking care of most of that for us. It's coming. So
you're welcome. I got my blower on and fixed and working, and since then it has not snowed.
And that's the way that goes. That's the way it goes, right? So we appreciate you, Chad. Thanks for making the sacrifice. And of our special edition sponsor is Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Thank you so much, Culver's Brookings and Watertown, for all the cheese curds that we had at our tailgate all year long last year. They were terrific. Always get yourself the beer cheese sauce for dipping your fries in when you get fries. And always remember, a better brand of beef makes a Butterburger better, or Culver's It's Delicious, the less fun and lame one that they have.
Isn't it welcome to delicious?
Whatever. See, that's why. You see, better brand of beef makes a Butterburger better is better, and that's why I stick with it. By God, not in my house. But anyways, fellas, how are we doing? Dallas, you had some technical difficulties. Me and Alex were late. Chad thought he was going to be doing it by himself. How's everybody doing?
That was after we pushed it back a half an hour.
Right.
I know, right? I know it.
you A-team guys in your early time, right in the middle of those of us with young children's bedtimes.
Right.
You know.
Right.
No, Dallas was very gracious to, he's old man asked to be bed by 9, but he's willing to push back so we could.
Man, I was up at 4:45. I'm tired.
A maniac.
I mean,
that's
I was up
crazy hours.
15 minutes after you, but fair enough. I'm tired too.
You guys keep getting tired, you're going to end up retired.
I would like to be retired.
Well, evidently that doesn't last very long. So,
yeah, just ask Bobby Houck how long you last being retired. Apparently,
it's like a 3-day thing.
Right? That was a good segue. Way done. Yeah.
Well, actually, I was going to ask for one to start, and I was going to suggest the original point. We were going to do the show after the transfer portal closed, so I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that at all. And honestly, how the story this year, both in the Valley and nationally, was honestly kind of refreshing. It was almost more about the guys coming back than it was about guys leaving.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. You got Brungard coming back, DJ Williams coming back, Lamson coming back out in Montana State.
Michael Wortham and Keone coming back.
That's so good. That's such a good comment, Rev.
It is a great comment, and we got that guy coming back for his 9th year, so...
Right.
Yeah. Rev. The Rev says
his last name. So
the Rev says Bobby Houck has no quit like some of these 9th-year seniors. So if you haven't seen today, Montana Grizz linebacker earned himself his 9th year of eligibility, which is insanity. And if you're wondering what we're talking about with Bobby Houck retired, air quotes, for being the head coach of the Montana Grizzlies, and then within a week or two, he's announced as the defensive coordinator for the Fighting Illini of
it was like
Illinois.
5 days. It wasn't even a week.
Yeah,
it wasn't a
business week, 5 days, whatever.
I guess.
Yeah.
Work week.
That was the first thing that started off poor Sam Herder's run of emergency bonus podcasts, which he just started the Mondak football podcast,
which is kind of funny.
It's super funny about Montana and Dakota schools, and then the Dakota schools and Montanas went nuts. But anyway, sorry, we're talking about the transfer portal here first. So, by our unofficial official schedule that we don't have. So, no, go on, Alex.
I'd say we kind of hit high level. I think the big ones are obviously the Valley quarterbacks. Chase Mason, which I don't think any of us here were ever super worried about. But then, you get DJ Williams at Southern Illinois. You get the defending Walter Payton winner and Bo Brungard. I'm sure they all had opportunities. They all come back. Like I said, Keanu Elott, Justin Lamson, a lot of big name quarterbacks, but a lot of other big name guys too. Taco Dallard from Montana State, he's coming back. Montana State retained a lot of those national title guys. Montana had some hits, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. USD got, talk about quarters teams. USD got hit fairly decently. They lose Fenner, lose Phillips.
Yep.
On the offensive side, they lose a couple linemen. They lost some guys on the defense, Norman Tillman, and really drawing a blank on the safety, but they were big ball players for those guys this year.
And they lost their 1-year coach.
Well, that was a separate topic on its own. But
that's its whole other topic there.
I think one of the big ones, as everyone here knows, you guys crack your jokes, but Timothy Rosario and I have gotten to be pretty good friends, and we DM about this stuff. And
what, Timothy and you have a budding romance?
Yeah.
It's not budding. It's budded. It's in flower.
Teron Dickens still has not found a home.
Really?
Western Carolina, Walter Payton finalist, and
we're talking about Teron Dickum Down Dickens, right?
Yep.
Man, that's the one. He's the one for sure.
But kind of heard some other stories locally. I won't name names, but I guess you maybe read through the lines there of Seth Meyers says, not remembering their safety's name, you're just as bad as the rest of the media. We can open that can of worms too, but despite the fact they just named off 5 of their other guys. But anyhow, where my train of thought was going, it's just interesting now that you have agents, right? And you get some of these agents in these kids' ears, and because the agent's trying to make money for themselves, they tell these kids, hey, I think you're an SEC player. And then all of a sudden a kid is at a G6 school making the same or worse money than they were getting from the FCS school they were at. I mean, That's kind of just crazy to think about. And I wonder if that's not a Dickens situation a little bit, because obviously the numbers are there, but like Kevin said in the stats, he's too short. And that's just, you get to that higher level of football, even in college football versus the NFL, it becomes underwear Olympics a little bit.
Well, yeah, there's that. And then overlooked FCS saying, I would not be surprised if Dickens has eligibility issues. He's too good not to be signed grades. He had an eligibility issue at the beginning of this year too. He wasn't injured at the start of the year to miss the first 3 games. And I know Stone Labanowitz, our buddy, when he was on with Sam Herder, mentioned that he might not be the best interview when he's sitting down and talking with people, just based off his personality. So that can't help either. And some of these guys too, if you're jumping into the portal, even if you're a big name guy at this point, I think, in my opinion, if you see the numbers of people in the portal, I mean, there's still thousands.
It's still
thousands
of thousands, I think,
of cats in the portal, like crazy numbers. Like, you better have that offer or have an idea where you're going, because let's not kid ourselves. Everybody's getting tampered with, and if you're just jumping in to jump in because you think you're better, like maybe. Yeah, Zach McKinnell says there's also the whole academic thing. But that's another story.
I forgot these people still going to school, or because
not
you're in your 9th year of school,
right? Well, who was it?
Carson Beck, Miami.
Yes, Carson Beck.
I don't
go to school. That's insane. Insane.
He said it out loud in an interview.
Meanwhile,
crazy.
Got to toot the horn a little bit, but I saw Ryan Gronowski was in the Facebook likes. You have Mark Gronowski at Iowa taking, graduate level engineering classes for the heck of it. But that's just he's such a great kid. But
right. What a stud. He's a smart cat. Dallas, is it working for you, buddy?
It seems to be okay. I had one of those awkward moments where I was about to say, oh, Alex is freezing, and then everybody else was frozen, and I realized it was clearly me. So we were working on that.
And then he realizes I never sit still, so something's wrong.
Right.
No, exactly. So I am here for a bit. I missed you guys.
Yeah.
Missed you too, buddy.
We were just talking, starting from the top, so to speak, your Dallas transfer portal stuff, because that was originally what this pod was going to be about a month ago before all the other craziness happened. So
Yeah, and then life happened.
yeah,
Right.
anything to talk about you wanted to bring up there?
No, not in particular. I think it is worth calling out just Jackrabbit specific. If anybody has not listened to Matt's podcast, his interview with Dan, make sure you go check that out.
Mhm.
Fantastic coverage. Great interview as always. I think they went like an hour and a half, something like that.
A
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah, we
over.
went an hour and a half. Yep.
Yeah, pretty lengthy. Get really in depth on a lot of different guys. Excited about that class. But no, just, I don't know. Portal in general, it's a mess. There's only one of them. It's kind of weird. I mean, it can kind of segue from there into you've got the Montana coach leaving, the USD coach leaving. Those players now can leave if they would like, but then they, of course, miss out on spring
Right.
ball. I don't remember. What is that window? Is it like 6 weeks or something like that?
It's
They-
15 days, but there's a 5-day lagging period, so you can't enter until 5 days after your coach's paperwork gets finalized. So if we're talking real math, it's probably close to 25 days total by the time.
Right, but teams don't tamper at all either. So definitely
Right.
those first 5 days, nothing's going on.
That's what
So
I mean.
we won't even
let's-
know for like what, another 3-4 days
That's
if
that's
any
what
of
I mean.
those kids are leaving. Whoops.
That's what I
Well,
mean. Realistically, it's a 20 to 25 day window we're talking about here.
Let's be real. I think this is a new strategy by schools, though. Like, if you find out that your coach is leaving, to ask them, like, hey, can you give us till after the portal's closed?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying USD did that. I think they did that last year.
No, they 100% did that last year.
but
They did.
I think
last
I think the thing with Montana was, hey, can you wait
no,
until the portal's closed? Because when it's not an issue of them getting in the portal, it's everybody's got who they want now. So
yeah.
these kids jumping into the portal that late are going to be sunk. So they kind of get stuck anyways, So it's, their portal's open, but how many spots are left? Not many, especially with the number of kids that were already in the portal. So unless you're, like Gilman or whatever for Montana, who he might get interest maybe, but otherwise, I mean,
No,
it
you
ain't
gotta,
happening. You're not
you
going
gotta
anywhere.
be that like power 4 X factor kid if you're jumping in at this point.
Right. And that's just not realistic in general for the FCS players. So
No, there's
playoffs after you're beat up, you can go into the free agent pool and get more kids, right?
you're right.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the NFL at this point.
Yeah. It's but I think that's a strategy for sure that that schools and athletic departments are employing in order to try to keep rosters around. They've looked at what happened to SDSU and they look at what happened to several
Iowa
other schools
State this
down
year.
south. Yeah, Iowa State. And there's been a fair number before SDSU happened. There's been a couple times where coaches have left and took
shout out-
everybody.
I was gonna say, shout out Jamie Williams, JMU still in the playoffs after what they went through 3 years ago when Sig left for Indiana.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that shows definitely that you can reconstruct a team
Quickly.
for sure. Real quick, obviously anybody watching live here knows everything that we're talking about, but did you guys, when I was messing around, did you cover just what we're actually talking about with these coaches?
Not fully yet. I mean, we mentioned how it was retired and unretired and Brett Favre
Less than a week.
Okay,
time-
gotcha.
time frame.
I figured I was imagining some casual folks listening to the podcast later on in the car or something and not having a clue what the hell we were talking about. So just
Sure.
in case you're not following Nationwide, wanted to make sure. Bobby Houck, head coach of Montana, steps down at it was actually the press conference that was supposed to be to talk about their signings,
Their
right?
signing class.
That bizarre timing. So that kind of blew everybody's mind.
And we thought that was going to be the craziest thing to happen, right?
Right.
But no, it was not.
No.
Yeah, and then the other one is obviously within the state, Johansson.
Prior Tuck. I mean Johansson.
Dude, he embraced it. He embraced it. Loved the guy for that.
He did. He owned it. Stepped down and left as the head coach of the Trash Puppies in Vermilion. And what do we know about the coach they brought in? I actually know very little, unfortunately.
Which one? Because we've got a question about the Montana head coach first, and I'm gonna be honest.
All right, yeah. Let's not mix them together. Let's talk Montana.
I don't know a lot about him. I'm Googling it right now.
So here's my thing. Here's my take on the Montana's head coach saying he's unqualified to be their head coach. I struggle saying that about any coaching hire unless you know the guy in depth or have worked with the guy or whatever. I struggle to say somebody's unqualified to be a head coach.
Well, to be fair, he's like the 10th result for Bobby Kennedy and like the third
right
for Bobby Kennedy football. It's like a Scottish professional soccer player comes up first.
That's fine. But there's plenty of really good coaches all across all across all divisions of collegiate football, and you might not know about them as a casual fan or even a really in-depth fan because they might just not have been in the right situation. But I will say this, the interesting thing, and this kind of plays into the strategy, right? The strategy, if you lose the coach now, in my opinion, is A, try to make it last till the portal's closed. B, get someone immediately. And I think that's what Montana's doing is they're having a head coach immediately who the players liked to try to keep him, and they put him on a 1-year contract, which is unheard of in FCS, except for when the state of South Dakota only allowed 1-year contracts for government workers.
Well, so Montana is struggling with that as a university right now too.
Do they have that law in Montana? Is that what that is?
There's something specific to the University of Montana. Adam was talking about it in the effing chat. That they're kind of handcuffed and probably partially why they had the promotion. So, yes, as other people have said in the comments here, he's career wide receiver coach. But I don't know that that's, entirely fair because you look at some of the places he's been and people he's coached under. He has a lot of experience. He coached under Mac Brown at the national championship 2005 team. He's, coached a lot of big names, and he's 30-year coaching veteran. So he has experience. So if nothing else, I think they maybe hired him for that reason is he's not going to be the X's and O's guy, but he's not going to try to be. He's going to manage the locker room, manage the roster, and he's going to trust his coordinators.
I think, yeah, and in the end, I think you hire him as fast as possible to keep the roster together. And then if things are not going well next year, then you go through and conduct a coaching search nationally towards the end of the season because they only put him on a 1-year contract. So, and their AD essentially said it was a prove it year for the guy. So he's interim without being an interim coach. He can earn it. So, and it's purely out of damage control, I think, at this point. And to me, that's an interesting move for a school the caliber of Montana.
They could have stolen someone from within the subdivision, like a minimum SoCon coach.
If they'd have waited and done a coaching search, yeah, you lose some guys in the portal for sure. But is that worse than having a whole season if you just knee-jerk try to keep guys and then hire somebody the next year if things go wrong? I don't know if that's better.
It depends on the confidence they have in him. And let's keep in mind that I'm not going to act like being the head coach of a Division I football team is simple. It is not by any stretch of imagination. But, again, this is somebody that's been around, seen a lot of different systems, seen how a lot of different coaches operate. And, you are more – we've talked about this a ton on different pods, but, you're a manager. You're an executive as a head coach, right? You're not, he doesn't need to know how to call an offense. He doesn't need to know how to call a defense. He needs to have a card, and he needs to know if he has to weigh in on special situations and when you punt and when you fake and when you do all that stuff, or he can delegate that too, and he just has to run the damn team. Like, he can handle things any way that he wants, and it's kind of a unique opportunity for him to get to do that for a year. And I don't hate the idea of them doing it that way and doing the damage control thing. I wanted to bring up, do you guys put any stock into some of the rumors that this was perpetuated or caused within the university? Was he pushed out?
I think, I don't know, it'd be interesting to talk to
Samuel Akam.
yes, Sam would know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he'd tell you.
Well, he might off the record.
Well, it's one of those things. I don't think a lot of the people I don't think the people who know are going to say it publicly. The one thing that I did see was interesting. I thought I saw posted somewhere was that Bobby's contract, the way it was written, if he retired to leave, he didn't have to pay penalties on his contract. So if he retired and then left, then he was able to leave. And so that there's potential there. I mean, you hear like you said, Dallas, that he might have been pushed out by unhappy donors or whatever. That could just be a happy medium between them. Like, hey, we'll let you retire. We're not going to try to legally pursue this. You go on to whatever you want afterwards and go from there. So, hey, a Grizz fan saying he knows more about a program than the people who follow it. That's just what I've told by people who follow the program, Brian. I'm just telling you.
So, and I'm in no way suggesting that he wasn't being truthful when he said, because his press conference, he was very blunt and basically said, I'm paraphrasing and putting words in his mouth, but basically sick of the current state of college football. He doesn't appreciate NIL. He doesn't appreciate having to retain his own roster. Like all of these things. Not that he didn't like NIL, but it was the portal and just kind of the way everything obviously is sloppy. And he spoke about young college athletes, young men not doing a good job of thinking for the long term. I forget exactly how he phrased that. That was the quote that got a ton of run afterwards. So he absolutely was sick of that, and by all accounts was ready to go and be a coordinator where he doesn't have to deal with all that shit. So that makes complete sense.
It does, and we've seen other coaches leave for similar reasons too, like just be completely demoralized. Look at Kansas State.
Yeah, I'll bring him up all day. I mean, that is 100% why he left, and you could hear that. I listened to most of K-State's press conferences all year and their radio show and all that, and it just, you heard him just going downhill all year and honestly starting to spiral. He was just over it.
I honestly felt bad for Kleeman a little bit because we'll get to the NDSU, the Buffalo-sized elephant in the room here, as I put in my write-up. But Kleeman was the one coach there's actually like Entz, Bull, Polasek all rubbed me the wrong way. Like Kleeman as a dude, I actually really liked. I was super bummed to see that happen.
I think the latest coaching iteration's the least of the worst, though.
I think
Polasek's all right.
Polasek was actually pretty fun to talk to at Media Day. I should walk that back a little bit. But anyhow.
So do we want to jump on, talk about the furry cows, or are we going to talk about the coyotes?
Do we ever want to have to talk about them?
We're doing the coaching thing here right now, so we might as well do the Oats with Johansson, or Friar Tuck, as I like to call him, leaving. I'm just kidding. He was a super good dude. He embraced that really well. And honestly, he was a hell of a coach.
He was a fantastic coach for that program.
He did a lot with not even what they started with this last year.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, huge props to him. I think I'm as surprised as anybody that he's going to Rutgers, but on the flip side, that's a huge
double your
increase in your salary, and you get power you get the Big Ten coaching experience on your resume.
What is and you take a team from being the second worst defense in the country to anything other than the second worst defense in the country. That's a huge feather in your cap.
Right. And I understand some of the comments like, well, he could have been a G5 coach in a couple of years. Yes, probably. He can still do that after being a defensive coordinator in the Big Ten, though. I get it. It's Rutgers, whatever. But look, Matt Entz left to be the linebackers coach at USC, linebackers coach, and is now New Mexico State's head coach. Yeah. So he went to be a position coach.
But, yes, Chad.
Time out though. Like we say Rutgers is terrible at football. But, okay. Can I make my point, Alex?
Sure.
Would have anybody saw Indiana winning the national championship 2 years ago? They were pretty terrible at football too. So
That's different, though.
I don't think you can throw that out to every bad school that somebody gets hired at, as that's
I'm
happened
just
once in
saying
the
there is
history of
potential
ever.
that some team that's bad could come around.
Where
That's
is
all I'm
Rutgers' Mark Cuban?
saying. I don't
I don't know.
know.
Rutgers has a
they're-
lot of wealthy alumni.
They
Rutgers got
They
it.
do, but
Yeah,
none of
they're-
them to this
They
point.
are
have
the
stepped up.
state university of New Jersey. Don't
And
forget
the
that.
second NIL was legalized, Mark Cuban was, a little bit piss pants baby because he got pushed out of Mavs ownership, but he said, "Okay, let's buy a football national title."
He sold. I don't think he
So-
got pushed out.
No, he was
Kurt Signetti
forced
is the
out.
bigger factor than Mark.
No, 100%.
So
They
that's reality.
knocked the head coaching hire out of the ballpark.
But the other
Certainly
thing is
he knows how to
Schiano-
buy a team, doesn't he, Kurt Signetti? He did a good job there.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and here's the other thing.
Played the game
Schiano,
well.
in Rutgers, it's like that's nothing to sneeze at. The coaching world's connections, right?
No,
And you get to coach with a guy who's got more connections than Carter's got pills. The dude's been around forever and been a good coach with a respected coach. So, I mean, you've got to factor that into the calculus
Yeah,
too.
what-
And here's something we've been tap dancing around. As a general rule of thumb, and this will make Coyote fans mad, but I don't care. It's hard to win in Vermilion.
yeah,
it
he
is.
did an
You-
outstanding job down there.
That is it's with NDSU leaving, that changes that calculus a little bit. But I mean, they've had like Craig Smith talk about it, their old basketball coach, how hard it's the smallest college town in Division One.
Division One, yeah.
And recruiting there and all that stuff's difficult. It just is. And there could be a little bit of, hey, I'm gonna strike while the iron's hot, because I remember, I think it was you, Alex, sharing their depth chart with lines up through
Yeah,
everyone who's not back this year, and it's not, and a lot of it's from graduation. There wasn't many names left on that, So it's really, besides not being a head coach position, it's not that different than Jimmy having, hey, we're at our peak of power right now, and with that, and I got a good offer, I'm going to go. That's very much possible. That was part of his thought process.
Well, and they go from Aiden Bauman, one of the best quarterbacks they've had outside
to
of
a three-way battle, and I'm not convinced
right.
any of the guys are that good, but that's a separate discussion for March, April.
Right. I'm just saying they're unproven. That's where I was going to
I think unproven's the better way to go with that. They could be great, but that's part of it, and not that they'd be terrible or anything else, but it could have been a thing where it takes them another year or two, and how long till that next opportunity comes along could be part of it. But it is, what it is. I'm not talking about transfer basketball players. Sorry. All right. Here's the thing. I'll say
Daryl
this.
Anglin is an SDSU fan.
I know it.
And
I
he's
know
a
it.
good
I know it.
supporter of
And
ours.
I'm
He's a
not
good
dogging
dude.
on Daryl. Yeah, I'm just going to say this. This is my thought process now, in general. Mark, because this gets talked about all the time. You should root for every guy who transfers away from SDSU and
Not
whatever.
necessarily.
No.
I'm not
Mark's a unicorn. I absolutely went out of my way to watch Mark Gronowski play. But if you're here for a year or two and then left, that's okay. I don't have any ill will towards you. But it happens so often now. I don't have the bandwidth to try to keep up with those guys.
Yep.
I'm not going to cheer against you, but I'm not cheering for you either. If this is it, you made it transactional. This is the way they made it.
It's different when you play here for 4 years, get an undergrad degree,
Right.
and say prior to your last year, this is my last year either way. Giving everyone full notice, letting the coaching staff be able to handle that.
Right. So that's my stance on it. So best of luck to him, but I'm not.
Gronowski did a ton for our program.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And
Like,
we
that's
know
it.
his
It-
family personally. Shut
Right.
up.
That's way different. This is not even close to the same conversation.
I wouldn't know Oscar Clough if I saw him walking down the street. Dude's tall. That's all I'd know.
Right. And I appreciate what he did when he was here
Oh,
and
absolutely.
everything, but when the guy's here for a year and gone. Okay, I cheered for a year and you're gone. I don't know.
At least I know Baylor Shireman,
Shireman.
whose name I can't say.
Right.
Baylor Shireman. If I saw him on the street, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's Baylor.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So that's my little off topic tangent. I know Dallas. Were you asking about what we know about their new head coach?
Yeah.
Yes, I was prematurely steering it towards that, but sure, if we want
Yeah.
to jump on and talk about where the University of South Dakota is headed now.
So he was their co-O coordinator last year, and sorry if I totally jumped in and other people had thoughts. He was their co-O coordinator last year, quarterbacks coach. He'd been there a couple of years, but he had coached with Johansson prior at either Northwestern or Grand Valley. I forget which. He was not the play caller, but obviously he's very involved in offensive game plans and meetings. So he's, it's kind of similar to the Montana hire. He's pretty green as far as last year's his first year being a coordinator at the D1 level. But as I've been kind of thinking back and going through some stuff on my own here, I think if you go back and look, at least kind of colloquially, how UST's defense and offense were regarded last year, I think their defense was probably a little overrated and their offense was a little underrated, if you ask me. Because of the style of football they played, that lent to some of that because they played that ball control style and they played a lot of low possession games. When you do that, that's going to make your defense look better and your offense look worse. So that said, I think once again, if you're looking for something quick, it's a good hire. I think it's a little bit different than, I've talked about this hypothetical in our group chat, and I don't know that I've ever said it on air, but I guess I'll throw it out there now. Nielsen got an extension right before the 2023 season.
Yep.
At the same time, all their fans wanted him fired. And gosh, I wish they would have fired him because at that point, who is going to take a job to coach a 4-8 USD team?
Right. I mean, somebody would, but boy,
it's a short list.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think you talked about it's the smallest D1 town. I'm not trying to turn this into a bash the Yotes fans thing, I promise. Despite the
they're already butthurt.
Local media stuff this week. I know we have a couple of them that do watch our stuff, and they're good guys. But anyhow, you probably have a little more pressure to hire within, right? That's not the coaching search. Just to call it what it is, the coaching search, if you go external, is not as expansive for the Montana head coaching job as it is for the USD coaching job. I think the USD head coaching job is better than it would have been had they fired Bob 3 years ago. But it's still, you're not going to draw the same level of names.
Well, one thing that we haven't touched on here, though, too, is think about just the human factor with the players. To me, you almost, as an administration, owe it to the players that have stuck around, that have been signed, that didn't bail in the portal to keep things intact. Because if you bring in a new coach, obviously it is wide open to fire everybody and make the entire place unrecognizable and really kind of screw over the kids that are there.
Oh, so, for sure. That's part of it too.
Yeah. So, we talked about it from the sense of just like comfortability and the players like that guy, but then also on the flip side of just promoting someone they like is just how bad it would be if everything reset and they didn't really have a choice.
Well, and here's the other thing on top of that, Dallas, and I love that, you having Hudson going through everything, you have that perspective really good that we tend to forget sometimes when we're talking about all these college athletic things. But the other thing is too, if you're USD, you look around at SDSU and NDSU, and they've continued rolling by continuity of people who understand the program and understand what got you there. And you've got Coach Nielsen who, got this program rolling on its feet. And then, you go to Johansson, and then he takes it even better, an even higher level almost, and keeps it rolling. You want to keep that rolling with the same guys in the building that know what it's like to coach here and and all those things. So I think it could be a very smart hire for him to do that. I think it's the lower risk option anyways. I'm overlooked. FCS thought they'd hired Drake's or Augustin as head coach. I would have
good hires.
Drake would have probably been
a great head coaching hire. But it totally makes sense for them. And I'm sure in today's day and age, we talked about it. You've got to have a super short list of people you want to hire. And I think it's also even more important for you to have a coach who hires good coaches under him that have head coach potential, so you can keep that ball rolling. And, Stig was really good at that, and then having Dan Jackson come back from that, that sort of tree. And I think that tree isn't as expansive for USD because they haven't been as good for as long. So you kind of had to hire someone currently on staff, and you hope he's going to work out if you're them.
Back to Drake, did that coach get hired at Rutgers also? Is that
yes, he did.
Yeah, that's a hell of a hire.
He and the secondary coach for USD both got hired by Rutgers as well.
Yeah, and I think in a way for USD, it's better. And I think this will be the thing going forwards for FCS schools. You're better off if that coach takes a coordinator position than taking a head coach position somewhere else, because the new way it works is you take your guys with you. And if you're taking a coordinator spot, you're taking way less, way less of the guys. You don't have the room to take your whole staff. So I think that helps minimize potential damage.
The difference between taking 1 to 5 guys and maybe a coach versus taking 5 coaches and 20 to 30 players. I mean, honestly, right, wrong, or otherwise.
Right. Huge difference. You should, as an FCS fan going forwards, you should probably root for your coach to get a P5 coordinator job over getting a good G5 head coaching gig.
100%. You want him to go be the D coordinator at Nebraska and fired in 2 years versus the head coach at North Texas and then be the head coach somewhere else.
Right.
In 2 years.
Right. Yeah. Carter asked, do we think Nielsen left early like Stig to keep Joe Hansen?
They said he did.
Losing him?
They said that's what it is.
I've got some pretty reliable sources that Johansson was offered both the UNI and UND head coaching jobs and was actually going to take the UNI job over UND, which is super surprising. But
we would have had a lot better we would have had a really nice defensive player there if that would have happened.
Oh, that's right.
He was a stud.
Chad's referring to the transfer out of Tulsa that backed out when our coaching staff turned over and ended up at UNI. Man,
well, to be fair, his brother ended up getting hired as the D-line coach at UNI.
Yeah, so he had a connection. It made total sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do we go to the topic probably everybody's here for?
I think we should.
I know Brian's in the background listening. He's probably mad at me because I gave him shit before.
But. One thing I wanted to quick touch on, I saw a couple comments pop up, and then somebody commented earlier on, I think, on the Jackrabbit Illustrated Facebook page, asking about who we might play. And I wanted to make sure I plugged what Alex put together. You want to talk about that just real quick, Alex?
Oh, yeah. As Ben summed it up, I'm a nerd and B an engineer. So when people tell me things are difficult and they're actually not, I kind of just do them. Combined with being a nerd for the Missouri Valley and FCS as a whole, I just put together, there is one typo in this someone caught on a message board I posted this on, and I didn't save the Excel sheet, so I couldn't change it. Sorry, I'm just getting my Twitter pulled up here. But this is what the potential scheduling would look like. Everyone except us had week 4 off anyhow. So all the extra games we need to play were able to be slated in there. And then we have to take that first conference bye week. I'm looking for the share button on the wrong screen here.
Present or invite should be at the bottom.
Yeah. Off-season mode here. Although it's not off-season mode for Chad and I were doing wrestling shows. But anyhow.
Which is weird that you needed a code.
My computer randomly logs me out. Anyhow, so yeah, if this was just simple math, keep it simple math, disturb the existing schedule as little as possible. Everyone gets a bye in conference play now, which I know some people like, some people don't. And then the one thing I kind of start talking about and stop, this UND YSU game should be flipped. YSU should be home. UND should be away. But otherwise, this is what a 9-game Valley schedule would look like.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to plug that because I know you put some work into it and appreciate it. So if anybody's wondering what the Valley schedule might look like without North Dakota State, go to jackrabbitillustrated.com, click on the blog, and it's right there.
Yeah, I've got some additional comments. The only thing I'll add, there's been some discussion of how is the conference going to handle things, this, that, or the other thing. I'll also plug, kind of friend of the show, so to speak, Omar Shamborga. He's a fellow Redshirt Sports voter with Brendan and I, and he actually writes for Redshirt Sports. He has a really good article on what that might look like if the MVFC does choose to add anyone, but I don't necessarily think they will. The vibe Brendan and I got with talking with Commissioner Jeff Jackson at Media Day last year, granted this is a much different situation than Missouri State leaving. His view was, if some of the feeder conferences, so to speak, in the Summit or Missouri Valley added a quality football playing member, they would certainly look to extend an MVFC invite to them. But as far as specific to the MVFC, they didn't feel like they needed to add anyone. And I think that's still the case, personally. I think they'll probably stay at 9 for at least a couple years here until the Summit or Valley add someone in the ever-moving wheel of realignment.
I am begging.
Go ahead.
I'm begging everyone to understand what the Missouri Valley Football Conference is. I'm begging you. Please, God.
Especially now.
The Missouri Valley Football Conference is the football home for Summit League and Missouri Valley Conference programs. That's what it is. That's why Murray State got added, because they got Murray State got added to the Missouri Valley Conference, so their football came here. USD and UND got added to the Summit, so their football teams came here. That's what the Missouri Valley Football Conference is. The only outlier is Youngstown State, who had been in the gateway since the dawn of time. So
Murray State?
Youngstown State. Sorry,
Okay.
I thought Youngstown State. My mouth words weren't so good. Damn it, Herder. My phone fell because he posted a tweet. So, but
Does that always happen when he posts a tweet?
Yeah. But that's what it is. So if there's going to be an addition, it will come from the Summit League or the Missouri Valley. So realistically, you're looking at the Summit League. They're losing Denver. Who do they add? And Jim says, why add Murray? That's quality program. They weren't added for football. They were added to play basketball because they're a good basketball school, and they had what the Missouri Valley Conference wanted for basketball. They got added to the Valley. They'd given 4 spots to the Summit with the Dakota schools getting added, so you got to scratch their back now. That's how it goes. If we're now this would be a conversation if we were in an all-sports conference that sponsored football. If the Summit League sponsored football, then it's who they're going to add, then that's different. But who's the Missouri Valley Football Conference conversation is not going to come down to football. It's going to come down to who the basketball conference is at or the Olympic sport conference is at. That's my opinion on it. Because there's not a lot of teams out there or schools out there that are in a conference that doesn't sponsor football in general. There's not a lot of those out there to steal from.
The Summit and MVC are such a weird outlier in that regard.
Right. That and the CAA, interestingly enough, everybody gets the MVFC confused with the MVC all the time. The CAA football conference is another similar situation to the MVFC.
If you guys were to hand pick someone to add, who would you pick? And
so
why?
if I were to add, I loved Omar's article.
It was great. Yeah, we should.
And I'm with a couple of his ads. If you can, and the trick is this comes down to who can the Summit League get. The Summit League is not a team that pillages, is not a conference that pillages other conferences. They are the team that they're the conference that gets pillaged by other conferences, which leads you to a problem. So if you want realistically, I would, with what Zach McKinnell said on his podcast, that he had heard that there were several D2s looking at moving up once NDSU left. You look to a couple of those teams. Hopefully that's like a Ferris State or a Northwestern Missouri State or somebody like that.
Homer, because I grew up a little bit of a fan, as I'm sure I've mentioned before, because my dad's an alum, but I would love Northwest Missouri State to join the MVFC. That would just end the Summit League. That would be a blast for me. I don't know that they have a desire, because their success is almost kind of in spite of their funding, if you know anything about them. They put a lot of, actually, we'll get more into this conversation shortly, I'm sure, but they're very NDSU-esque, where they put a shit ton of money in football and nothing else.
Yep. They'd be great in the Summit.
Right.
but Ron brings up, you want the dream scenario. You look at these, I would look at the UAC, and, the Summit doesn't need one more team. They need a bunch more teams. So
Right.
I would try to grab, Central Arkansas, Tarleton, talk to Stephen F. Austin if you can.
What's the NAIA Oklahoma school that's looking to jump up all the way, but they actually are funded pretty well? I'm totally drawing a blank on that.
Never heard of that one.
Nope, not familiar with that.
Anybody mentioning
Oklahoma.
Wisconsin Whitewater doesn't understand Wisconsin.
Yeah, I threw out Lindenwood. At least geographically could make sense, and they've stepped up and said that they have big goals there. At least it did initially when they jumped up.
I think Lindenwood could be a good hire, and it doesn't impact our immediate recruiting area quite the same way.
Yes.
Yeah, Lindenwood would be a good program that would be stable and a good ad for the conference. Absolutely.
Lindenwood and SEMO, I would be all for those.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
SEMO,
If you can get those two programs, because let's be honest, you don't got to be good at basketball to join the Summit League.
No.
So,
and who's SEMO's biggest rival?
SIU, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you had a great
what do they
rivalry
play for?
game.
A wagon wheel or a ship's wheel?
A ship's wheel.
Ship's wheel. That's what it is.
Alex's favorite rivalry trophy. Let him talk.
It's unfortunately now my favorite FCS rivalry trophy. God damn it.
Even over the giant pile of garbage or bear poop or whatever it is.
Even over the giant pile of bear poop.
I've got that sounds like an unfortunate segue here. On the screen, gentlemen, what I present to you is the last image I was able to capture of the Dakota Marker Trophy. It is behind glass.
Sad thing.
Yep, it's in a very sad spot, and it
It
may be
looks
there
sad.
forever. We do not know.
Here's the thing with that, if we want to start there.
Let's start there.
I put it in the group chat to once again address the elephant in the room. If you have been living in a fallout shelter for the past 5 days, whatever it's been now, North Dakota State has accepted a football-only invite to the Mountain West Conference to the tune of $12.5 million plus the $5 million reclassification fee. I'm sure we'll get into some of the math behind that in a second here as well. Just my initial thoughts. It kind of, there's a lot of people saying that this is, the Dakota Marker is over. I don't know that I buy that. If we can move up in the next 3 to 5 years, that's going to be its own conversation we might get into and the challenges of some of that. But for the time being, I don't know. It obviously sucks. It's up there, but maybe I'm being too pessimistic. I don't see a reality in which we win that game this year. I just don't. It's your first game after Chase gets hurt. It's the first game after you're missing Van Tol and a couple other key pieces on the defense. There's just, as shitty as it is to say 1 versus 2 for the third time, but there was just, maybe it's copium on my part. I don't think there is a world where you win that game. I mean, there is, but the probability is not high. What burns me is 2024, that marker game plus the semifinal game, not ever getting to get those rubs back. That just sucks. 2019 college game day, because if we're ever going to get game day again, it's probably going to be for the marker again. And knowing how close we were to beating an all-time FCS team there at home on college game day sucks. But then the positive, to leave it on a positive, how sweet is 2022 now?
Oh yeah, forever and ever. That's the cherry on top. Forever and ever and ever and ever.
The one title game, we won it.
Yep, and that'll never ever go away because there will never be a national title rematch between SDSU and NDSU. I will say this. I have to say this. I have to get off my chest because when NDSU fans first started bandying about the football only invite, I called them stupid and said that's the dumbest thing ever. It will never ever happen. That's not a thing. Nobody gets to move up from FCS as football only. It's never happened. Whatever. And guess I'm an idiot, which I've claimed to be more than once. So at least I'm honest. But I was wrong. They got it, so good for them. And are we going to start? Do we want to start with the negatives? Do we want to, we're talking about the marker game. I'll say this. Until we are in the same classification for them as them, the marker game's over, guys. It's done.
It's done.
Yeah, it's
done.
silly to think that there's zero reason that they would schedule us. That doesn't make any sense at all.
No, and that's why I said next 3 to 5 years. Until we are in the same classification, it's done. They're not going to play us as an FCS school.
And just for anyone who's listening who goes, no, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to just lay out why. I know pretty much everybody who listens to us knows why, but just to rehash it, it's the same reason G5 schools don't schedule SDSU, except on crack. Like, it's way worse because
Colorado State, when their whole administration's about to get fired.
From an NDSU perspective, there's no outside. If you take why would you pay your rival, who's now a lower division than you, to come into your barn, who your rival's good? It's not like we're some 3-10 team.
Murray State.
Yeah, we're not Murray State. So you invite up a good team that's going to have not just rivalry motivation, but now they're feeling all sorts of way about this, and they're going to be chewing through their face masks to play this game. And pay them, they're going to stab people with a knife.
I just keep wondering if you're going to accidentally catch a nipple with that thing, Alex.
Old nipple slasher Alex over here.
You sure that's a woodwick trimmer?
It'll trim some wood.
Trim a wick.
Yeah, it'll trim your wick. Dallas is like, this is B Team podcast.
That's okay.
So
I know what I signed up for.
Yeah, so they're never going to pay and run that risk. Like, you just don't do it. It would be stupid. It would genuinely be stupid for them to do that. I honestly, if I'm NDSU and I'm at 11 games and I need 12 and the only option is South Dakota State, I'm going with 11 games. Like, that would just be dumb to do that. It's the same reason we didn't schedule USD when they were a D2 and we're FCS when we moved to FCS. Like, why would you risk that? Even in the smallest of circumstances, why would you risk that? Schedule some other FCS team. Schedule Murray State.
Point, it was kind of fun and cool, but the Augustana game 2 years ago.
Yeah. Those kids were
fired up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they took it to us for 2 quarters till the depth caught up with them.
Yep. That's how those games. You don't do that. So it's the marker game's gone, and it sucks. It sucks so much, and
blue colored glasses aside, it was legitimately one of the best rivalries in college football. I always said that.
All of college football.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yep. And it's gone, and will be for a while, and it might not come back when you move up to FBS. They might not want to bring the trophy back. Who knows?
We might not end up in the same conference.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
that's the regular thing.
Would shock me, but anyhow, that's a separate discussion.
We can talk about that later in the day here. There's
so many unknowns with how that might happen. I think it's worth touching on. There's a lot of kind of blind optimism from national accounts on all social media. Who will be the next FCS school to jump up? And of course, South Dakota State's logo is always on there, but there is no reason to believe that that is currently anything that's in the realm of possibility right now. You look at the dollars that, everything's being discussed, right? So Sell has always been open about, hey, everything at the right time that makes sense. We've talked about how much we trust Justin Sell and his decision making and how he looks at things, on and on and on. But to actually think that there's a current plan to quickly scramble and catch up, that's not how we operate. That's not how South Dakota State operates. No. At least historically, there's no reason to believe
and it's
that that's going on right now.
Right now, that's not the smart way to operate.
Yeah, I'd agree. So somehow there's several legitimate media accounts today that have said that North Dakota State has $25 million raised
in 2
days.
days.
Jump, in 2 days for the jump. God bless them. That's great. I don't think that that's an option, for the Jackrabbits right now. Unfortunately, it's just going to take some time, and we'll have to let stuff sort out.
So that's kind of the interesting thing I posted about in our group chat today, and maybe it's me being overly optimistic. And I will qualify this before we even get too deep into it. This requires the member presidents and schools to want you. That's always the key piece, right? Is there has to be mutual attraction. You can't just will your way into this. But we could take a Northern Illinois deal. So Northern Illinois is not taking any conference revenue for 4 years to pay their $2 million entrance fee. And because they're football only, they only get $500,000 as opposed to the estimated. I say estimated because Mountain West is kind of secretive about their stuff weirdly compared to other conferences. $3.25 million for all sports conferences. From what we've always heard, the big push is we do not want football only, because going back to like we talked about and alluded to, that's the other piece of this puzzle with the football only thing is NDSU, to call it point blank, outside of the men's and women's basketball, do not care about Olympic sports. It's not a priority. It's never a priority. It's not going to be a priority for them. They care about football and to a small degree, basketball. That's it. That's not SDSU. For better and worse, right? We have a nationally ranked wrestling team. We have soccer and softball teams that occasionally crank the national rankings. Like, there's other stuff, and we're very good at football. There's also other stuff going on, and I don't think we would make a decision that would slight those other programs for better and worse.
Great call. Yep, I agree completely.
So where I'm going with that is if you're able to get full membership, that media share then becomes $3.25 million. You can forego that for like 5 years to get to that $17-20 million. And then you just got to come up with the $5 million reclassification fee.
Well, here's the thing. I think if we really wanted to, we could raise the money. I do. Look how fast they raised the money for First Bank and Trust Arena. They had $50 million in like 2 years, less, like a year, and that baby was funded. Like, if you have big donor, and the reality is, it's not going to come down to us schlubs. It comes down to this isn't a does the average fan want to go, and that matters.
We have enough.
And Kevin Marshall nails it. He says SDSU has an athletic department, not a football department. 100%. But I think the money can be there if they want it to be, like really want it to be. However, like you said, you can't rush this. You can't just look. Sac State's trying to rush and force it. That's gone really well. And here's the other thing. Unless, and this is my opinion, and things change all the time in college football, we will not get into the same conference as NDSU as it sits. It's not happening, in my opinion. The Mountain West, I think, will consider the NDSU having taken the Dakota market for both Dakotas. I am not convinced that NDSU will be an advocate in the room for SDSU, because why would you advocate to have competition in your yard when you have the opportunity to be the G5 in the upper Midwest? Like, they're the only one. Why would they advocate for that?
if you read between the lines and see what former coaches' wives have posted on social media, they've all but said they're not going to.
Right. And so realistically, that means if you get that desperate, then you have to go CUSA or MAC, and that sucks. In my opinion, I don't want to go to either one. And this is and here's my thing. This is going to turn into a war within the SDSU fan base as things go, unless NDSU does really poorly. Which I doubt. I don't think that's going to happen. If NDSU sucks, though,
4 team in their conference next season.
Yeah, they'll be top 3 next season.
But what I'm saying is they'd have to do poorly. If they do poorly, I think every SDSU fan's like, ha, good move. We'll stay here. This is good. But if they're if they're successful, which I assume they're going to be successful, you are going to have a segment of the fan base that's mad and feels like they're getting left behind and we're falling behind and all these things. And, and we'll see how it goes. That's just what I think could happen. But realistically, as SDSU, you can't rush it. Focus on dominating right now. If that's a move you want to make, you make sure you have the blocks in place, not just, I don't mean the blocks in place and being a good athletic department. We're already a very good athletic department, but you make sure you have the funding in place whenever that opportunity comes. When you decide it's time to go, you just make phone calls and go, it's time. Yep. And the money's there.
Yep.
Like
break glass, pull lever, go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's with essentially $25 million raised, but 12 and a half or 17 and a half to basically be FBS. That's not a sign of the Mountain West's desperation, in my opinion. That's a sign of how badly NDSU wanted to be FBS. And honestly, in our isolated location and small media markets, what you have to do to join, because you're not going to add to the revenue of their contract in general. I don't see, they're not, because everything's media markets. So they bought their way in, and good for them. But I think that's a sign of, that they had to pay to.
Well, it is. They were never, they were not pretending like they were holding their cards close to their chest. They laid them down on the table, and they've been doing it for 5 or 6 years now.
So they've been vocal about it since COVID, at least.
Yeah, so they were never going to.
3 years for sure.
Yeah, they were never going to get a good deal, and they didn't care. They just wanted to make sure that they could find the opportunity, and they got it. They knew they could come up with the money. So, God bless you. I'm not going to say good luck. Go do what you're going to do. And yeah, correct. I think that we're still in the position that we've talked about this entire time, where the time needs to be right. There's a set of criteria that I'm sure that maybe have evolved a little bit now that North Dakota State has jumped, but within the athletic department in Brookings, they've got a set of check boxes, and until all those boxes are checked, they're not going to do it, or not going to consider any opportunities, and we don't even know that we've actually been presented with any ever. You did, Brendan, you touched on recruiting, and before I jump off here, that's probably worth touching on. That is that's, to me, a little bit nerve-wracking, because the reason why we'll talk Dakota schools like people do nationally is kind of a conglomerate right now. The reason why we've seen Dakota schools be so successful here is because we're very regionally insulated for recruiting. And there's a lot of schools, and there's a lot of little 9-man teams with 6'6" kids that can run, that nobody's ever going to find if you're not in their backyard. And now all of a sudden, we've got North Dakota State up the road that's now a classification higher. We can argue, obviously, that, hey, play for a championship instead of a crappy bowl game, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely accurate. Obviously, you know where my loyalties lie. And then you've also got Jimmy Rogers right down the road in Ames, who's shaking all the same trees that we're going to be. He knows all, he's going to be looking at the same things he would have been looking at when he was in Brookings. So that makes me a little bit nervous, because I don't know how much we're going to beat North Dakota State head-to-head in recruiting. I mean, I trust Dan, and I know why I would convince someone to go to Brookings instead of Fargo, but it's still going to be, we were consistently winning that for the last, 4 years now? Something like that, 4 to 5 years?
We had flipped southern Minnesota and northwestern Iowa to solidly SDSU territory.
Yep, and that's going to be a tougher sell.
Toss up before.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, Sam, guys, I'm gonna bail. Great to see you. Go Jacks.
Hey, good seeing you, buddy.
Yep, you too.
Take care, Dallas.
So to jump on what Dallas was saying with recruiting, that's where, if that really starts to become a negative impact, that's where you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to make a decision one way or the other. You're happy with potentially if it really starts to hurt, and you're going to have to make a decision. Either you're happy with that or you're not, and you're going to have to deal with it, or you're going to have to really push to move up. The other thing is that we'll never know. Somebody earlier said, smoother than a koala said, yeah, it's easy to spend donors and boosters money. I don't know if that's meant to be sarcastic or not. We're just stating the facts of what it is, man. And how do the donors feel about this? Because I think the other reason that this can make people feel a certain way is we've looked at NDSU as our equals, or our peers, at least our peers, for, we've been together since the jump, right?
In hindsight, 2020, but was that even always fair? It's a much bigger school. It's a much bigger city, much bigger.
We're not a much bigger school, and their enrollment's been declining.
That's true. Sure. As have their attendance numbers.
Right. But, how do the big donors take this personally? Do they put pressure on whatever, and those are things we don't know and won't know. Like Seth says, Jordan says, how long does that kind of money roll in for NDSU? I know they have some rich donors, but I doubt the money flows like a river forever. Seth says the big donors for every school tend to have big egos too, but on Jordan's point, that is first off, NDSU isn't dumb. Like, they're not, like, they wouldn't make this jump if they didn't think they could sustain it. But on the same token, that's probably the same thing that was said to SDSU when we jumped up, right? If you'd have told us when we jumped and we had like a $7 million athletic budget that we would be okay. Yeah, SDSU has 2,000 more students.
That's
than
definitely
NDSU.
Changed in the last 5-6 years, but I will stay corrected there. Thank you, Brian.
Our enrollment's gone up, and theirs has gone the other way. But I will say
it's cold and shitty up there.
Like it's not here.
It's less
it's
cold
worse.
And less shitty.
Having lived in both, it's a lot more like where I grew up, where you don't see above zero for 3 weeks to a month. And
some people are so smart that they move even further north for half the year.
But to finish my thought,
talk about anyone specific there.
Who would have thought that SDSU, with a $7 million budget, under 20 years later, would have a budget of over 28 million, growing due to donations every year. Like that, like the scholarship auction brings in almost a third of the old athletic budget in one night.
Right.
In 3 days, or in 2 days, if you include 1 day to state, it's over 3 million that it brings in. So, it'll be interesting to see how the fan perception goes. I think right now, we still by far have a lot higher percentage of FCS is best fans, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I love the FCS. Will it feel a little bit hollow especially at least next year without 100%. Getting to have that clash, that epic clash every year that you knew was coming? Yeah, that's gonna sting. That's gonna sting a lot, especially in the first couple of years. However, and this point has been made, we all the general SDSU fan, I think, thought is, well, NDSU's gone, now we're going to run this show. We've lost plenty of times in the playoffs, and it wasn't always the NDSU.
Yeah.
We've lost to Montana State. We've lost to Montana. We've lost to, James Madison's gone, but we lost to Sam Houston.
For our buddies, the Blue Bloods, they talked about that specifically on their show. Listen to that if you haven't.
Right. So do I think that SDSU should very regularly be in the national title game? Absolutely. I think the pressure goes way up, because realistically, when you look at it, if we're looking, because that was all the sad and whatever, they're gone. Have fun. You took the marker. I'll always be bitter about the marker game being gone. Speaking of which, I got to move something here.
Ron keeps talking like we wouldn't want to play Montana State every year. Ron, we would 100% play
Absolutely.
a home every year with them, given the opportunity. If they want to come in and take NDSU's spot this year, let's go.
So if we want to go down that path for a little bit, I think both schools have proven they are not scared to play each other, unlike maybe Montana State's state rival who only play us in the playoffs. But I think you might see that series specifically, which is a bummer because obviously it's really fun. There were some great games between 2023 and 2025. Just with the frequency, maybe, knock on wood, never count your chickens, right? But the frequency we're about to see each other in the late rounds of the playoffs, I think that will hamper having some of those regular season matchups, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Big Sky because we have that agreement, right, with the Big Sky Missouri Valley.
It's a loose agreement. It's basically both conferences will help each other schedule games. There's nothing formal. I think that'd be a good question for Ben tonight, I guess.
I was just gonna say that would be a good question for media day.
Yeah,
but
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that still means you're looking at playing EWU or Cal Poly or someone like that instead as part of that.
Right. I will say when it comes to the conference slate, I would say it should help get a better seed, but North Dakota's really coming on.
Yeah.
Schmidt's going to have them a good program. It'll be interesting to see what USD can do with their current trajectory.
Yep. And let's be honest, we hate playing in domes.
Yep.
We're not good at it.
Well,
Dallas has talked about how they're up and coming ad nauseum in our chat too. They have all the things to be right there. They just haven't gotten over the hump. And part of that's been NDSU, right? So
as we talked about two parlays, he has a son who's very talented and going through high school recruiting right now. So he gets to the behind the scenes of a lot of these programs in the region. And he has had nothing but glowing things to say about UND. The other thing, I'm glad we kind of got in this topic a little bit because who did we add to our schedule? Obviously, Southern Illinois. I think that kind of actually has some potential. If you look at recent meetings with them, obviously 2024 when they, Stone Labanowitz would have been playing quarterback if he had been taking classes. The only reason he wasn't is because he was not eligible because he wasn't in school. Because they literally had a GA throw pads on for that game.
Right.
They were that desperate.
I'm glad you cleared that up for listeners because it took me a second to catch on to what you're talking about for a second.
I knew what you meant, Alex.
But speaking of Stone, there were, some pretty crazy games in there. You had obviously the Stone Labanowitz playoff game where they almost upset us. And then they come in and double overtime. The next fall season, and then them and Montana State were really the only teams that gave us a game in 2023. There was almost a little bit of a budding rivalry there, but it was kind of spurned by not playing consistently. I think that's potential, and Nick Hill's a good coach who will continue to have that program going in a positive direction. I think that's a little bit exciting to get to play them every year. It's not the marker game, but I think it's fun.
They have a hell of a quarterback down there this next year again. So
Well, and here's something too. The target on this team's back
just got bigger
because you're the team. Like it had gotten to a point where it was if you beat the Dakota States, like that was the comment you would hear. The
Dakota
Doug
States, Phillips say that to us that media day.
Yeah. So now you're the Dakota State. you're the one. We're the giant with the club walking around, and you don't think that we instantly become the team that UND really, really wants to beat the most? Immediately we do. USD, that's an obvious one that they make their season if they beat us. And then now everybody else, it just goes down the line, right? It just goes down the line, and everybody and their brother is going to be just wound for that game. You're not going to be able to take a week off.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you guys have any other analysis? I have a little bit more, I guess. If you
I'll go for a little bit. I know, Chad, you got some stuff you got to take care of, but
yeah, sleep.
Yeah, he's old. I was just going to talk about
my wife today.
Yeah, I can hang on to you here with 10, 15 minutes yet here, Brendan, though.
Yeah, if you want to.
Let's do it.
I was just going to say, nationally, I really loved the Blue Bloods getting into this and talking specifically about it, where they said, for the FCS, this is good. It's not good for SDSU. I don't think it's good for SDSU. I really don't. Overall.
I don't think anyone's blind to that. I think that's the unfortunate reality is ironically, the rabbit you were chasing is gone. And, it's Chad just left, but it's a racing analogy. It's always easier to run second than it is to lead, truthfully.
Right. Yep.
You know what mark you're trying to hit.
Right.
What lap time you're trying to meet.
Yep. And, but for the FCS, it's a good thing. I do think you will see more variety of teams in Frisco. Yes, you're going to see Montana State. You're going to see SDSU. You're going to see Montana probably. But it doesn't take much for those two teams, for Montana or SDSU, Montana State, to end up in the semifinal against each other.
So Montana State have to play each other in the brawl.
Right.
So then one of them drops a game they're not supposed to. We drop a game we're not supposed to. All of a sudden, that's the 1, 4, 5 seed, and they're all on the same side of the bracket.
Right. Yep. So there's going to be, I think, a fair amount of teams that we're going to see in Frisco or in Nashville. Cody Schilling says, no more Frisco, Brendan.
Nashville or Frisco. No, I'm getting mixed up. Nashville's contract's only through next year, then it's going to be up again. But
well, welcome to the club, Brian. I was just going to text you today that this is an FCS number. I don't think we should be talking. I will say this because I went to Nashville. Jim Poppin was there, had a ton of fun with him and the rest of the FCS Nation guys. It was a gas. Nashville was a ton of fun. Nashville was I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent here unless you had more to say about that. I don't understand the hate to Frisco. I thought Frisco was always a blast. I went there 4 years in a row. Enjoyed myself every time. But Nashville was better. Nashville was better. Stadium's better, turf's better. I don't think I'm going to share my secret on here. For getting for the tickets that I got. For the tickets that I got, I don't think I need to share that, and I don't want it shared because I don't want competition for those tickets. I'll share those in private with my friends. But I just don't want the ticket price to go to what it should be.
That's unreal what you did, but yeah, I'm already saying too much.
Yeah. You know why? It'll work out for you too.
Well, hopefully this guy can go, but anyhow.
Right. Nashville was way better, but I know there was a bunch of reps down in Nashville from different cities. I'm sure Frisco is going to put in a big bid. I'm assuming Nashville will put in a good-sized bid. I do think they saw the economic effect of it because when you walk downtown, everybody's like, you're going to Nashville. Have fun with all the bachelorette parties. Well, I think it turns out that early January isn't the most bachelorette party-esque time of year. Not super popping. But I bet you dollars to donuts that Nashville's downtown is not popping like that on a Sunday night usually. And it was slammed, and you could tell they were ready for a Sunday crowd. Not that they couldn't handle it; like it was handled fine. It was just like you got the vibe that it was Sunday.
Run out of domestics, and then
they never ran out of. They ran out of
live show, and
the Barstool Bar ran out of Busch Light for the Montana State fans, which is just an odd. They're not a party crowd, so I think an SDSU crowd would do some damage on that. But and so I think they'll put in a strong bid. Kevin says I was proud of how Illinois State people showed up. I was too. I was very impressed.
It was
a couple bars.
So I know we've talked about this some, but my impression on TV and yours in the stadium, you said as well, is it whatever they said the attendance was? I think it was 20.
That was a lie.
Like it looked way more full than that.
One of two things: either Vandy lies about the capacity of that stadium, or they were protecting Vanderbilt's normal attendance for a crowd by making it look smaller. Because there ain't no way, because I was in the end zone and I could see both sides, and there was you could not find.
It looked great on TV.
I mean, I think they say it seats 32, and they claimed 22 in
23.
Yeah, there was no 10,000 seats available.
And it looked
that was a farce.
TV to 28-ish, if I had to guess.
28 to 30, easy. Just nuts. Bobcat Nation showed up. Illinois State showed up, man. I think I said on Twitter, small but mighty. Their crowd was giving Montana State fits. They were jumping off sides all over the place. I think if you see a SDSU Montana State game, that place will be overflowing. It was gas. The whole experience. The only thing I'll say Frisco has far superior food.
Well, yeah, you're in the heart of barbecue country, and you got good Tex-Mex.
You're in Nashville. It's like you got chicken, and I love a good chicken sandwich, and they were good chicken sandwiches. But hot honey just doesn't get my motor rolling like barbecue, and I'm a Texas barbecue freak, so that I'm the guy who took the midnight road trip 2 hours away from Frisco to go to Snows. So
Tex-Mex, and I a little bit biased too because I grew up going there to visit family, but I'm probably the only person that would like. Maybe if I go to Nashville next year, I'll change my mind. But I'm probably the only person I'd like to see it go back to Frisco. That's just because Dallas is my favorite large city, and I love Tex-Mex, and I'm a Cowboys fan, and whatever.
Yeah, but Nashville was super cool, ton of fun. If we go to Brian's confirming for us, 24,000 was attendance. I will say, that's because Kevin's confused and he thinks only pigs can be barbecued.
Mustard sauce.
Bless your heart, Kevin. Oh, that'll kill him. And the last thing I have to say on this whole brouhaha is to the people who say that this season's wide open in the FCS. I don't know. I don't think so. I hard disagree there.
Montana State's the favorite to repeat, and then you've got us and Tarleton and maybe UND and some Villanova, some teams like that in the second tier. That's my opinion. But
I think out of the Valley, SDSU is going to be very, very good. UND is going to be very, very good.
Youngstown, if they can find some defense, is going to be a problem.
Should be a problem. But realistically, if you ask me, I think there's 2, maybe 3 heavy favorites to make it to Nashville. And then it'll kind of be similar that way just because Montana State has so much coming back. But Kevin says, it depends on the bracket. It always depends on the bracket. And that's like what we talked about. I mean, if SDSU drops the game to North Dakota and then North Dakota stubs its toe on the road twice, and then Montana State goes undefeated, now SDSU is the 3 seed or the 4 seed because let's say 2 teams, like Tarleton runs through the UAC, and
which isn't a terrible conference. I mean, we don't need to for that too much.
No, I'm not downplaying the conference at all. I'm just saying if they run through it and then you get a
so they're the 2
I
seed.
can see one of the Patriot League teams running through the Patriot League, and I mean
Villanova goes
talk
undefeated
about that later. Yeah, Nova goes undefeated through there, or even Lehigh or whatever. They get a 3 seed out of it, and all of a sudden now, then yeah, you very much do. I think so. I think in the context of national championship favorites, I think there's probably 2 teams, but there is much more opportunity to see another fresh face in Nashville, just with NDSU being gone. Because when you have 3 to 4 top teams, odds are low that they're all going to be on the same bracket.
Right.
And Montana should be really good too. They got Ayat coming back and everything.
Their offense should be good. Their defense is going to be interesting.
Yeah. So we are starting to stray into probably mid to late summer podcast territory.
And we need to keep it under an hour and a half, or Chad will skin us when he goes to edit it too, because that creates all sorts of problems for Spotify.
That's hilarious. All right. We better
Damian Hahn roll right there.
Yep. There it is. Yep. Damian Hahn for sure. Hopefully we're able to get some interviews here. So throughout the off season, I might reach out to grooms in the MVFC office, maybe reach out to the Summit League office.
Use some of our connections we made at Media Day, even some of those other teams' coaches. It would be good to kind of that offer.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Nick Hill said he would.
I wasn't going to tease anything in case they got busy, but yeah.
Well, he said he would. Will it happen? I don't know, but sure. I want to say this: we will be back for Media Day. All the coaches that we interacted with, unbelievable people. I mean, could not be nicer to us, especially with us just being some goobers that do podcasts. I think Nick Hill said he's listened to us before, and I almost fainted.
He and Doug Phillips both was like, why?
Yeah, I was like, oh God, no, don't listen to us. Why? Oh God, you have more free time than you went on.
Like I always say, half jokingly, half seriously, Scared Money Don't Make Money is the biggest Missouri Valley podcast.
Yeah, well, yeah, we got that going for us. So, but as always, listen to Zach McKinnell, listen to FCS Nation Radio, listen to Sam Herder's podcasts, listen to the Hair Raisers, all those guys. They put out great stuff, put it out all year. We appreciate all they do for the subdivision. We appreciate all of you for listening. 107 of you. I should know better. I do the late podcast. I should know how many people hang out late for whatever reason.
Tuesday night.
Well, I got to go to work
tomorrow.
Right. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much to every sponsor we've ever had for helping us feel like we're doing something. We really appreciate each one of you and everyone who listens, who supports them. So whoever you may be listening, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we throw up Jim's comment, I was just going to pop back to Kevin's here once again. And because I echo this sentiment, maybe it's sour grapes, whatever me.
This one?
No, the one I just had up.
Oh, I missed it. Sorry. My bad. Oh, God. I screwed it up on you.
Solidly in garage time now. Hopefully this is the last time you guys talk about the Fargo bunch. They're gone. And you guys have too good of a program and too much going for you to dwell on them. And I know it probably won't happen. We'll keep an eye on it at least for the couple of years here. But I totally agree. Control what we can control, and we're going to be the best proponents of SDSU, Valley, and FCS football in that order we can be.
Yep. We're not doing any less coverage, and we're not doing any less shows just because they're gone. So we'll still be here. So
and like that. Comments moving too fast. Like Jim says, like we always say,
go big, go blue, go
Jacks.